Somehow, EA found a way to become even worse. They will now be owned by Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner. Not that I was really buying much from EA as it was, but it was not because I was actively boycotting them. They just didn't make much for me. Now I absolutely am boycotting EA actively.
Adios, turd nuggets!
What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the certifiably suave Dr. Disaster, and anyone who has ever managed employees knows that when your underlings start asking questions and grumbling too hard about something that corporate is doing, you say whatever it takes to get them to just keep on working.
You just winked. No, I didn't.
You just did it again!
And that is the sort of situation that EA finds itself in right now. As you may recall, it was announced last month that this behemoth of a company is getting purchased for $55 billion by 3 organizations, including one that is run by Donald Trump's son-in-law and one that is owned by Saudi Arabia. And this has a lot of the progressive shitlibs who work for the company pretty concerned.
Oh no. It's finally happened. I'm having a total nervous breakdown.
The concern is that, oh my gosh, if the people who own the company are now concerned with making a profit instead of shoving activistic bullshit down people's throats, they might not allow us to talk about pronouns constantly in games like Dragon Age the Veilguard, or we wouldn't be able to plug in female soldiers with bionic arms into a supposedly realistic World War II shooter like we did with Battlefield 5, or maybe the Islamic State of Saudi Arabia will have a problem with all of the LGBT stuff in The Sims, and they'll make us take that out. Well, the buyout won't officially take place for another year or so, and in the meantime, EA is doing the predictable thing and saying whatever it takes to make their employees keep being as productive as possible. The news has just come out that the management at EA has addressed the fears of their employees, telling them that the current management will still have total control after the buyout happens, which is, of course, not something that they can promise in the slightest. But they're saying it anyway because what they really want is for their employees to remain productive. Ultimately, though, this announcement comes off like this.
Everything's under control, situation normal. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel, so make sure you look into that, and also, don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster1, and if you want to help keep the lights on, consider becoming a member of the channel for as little as $5 per month. But alrighty then, let's take a gander at what is being said by the bigwigs at EA. And like I said a minute ago, it is important to note that they will have literally zero ability to deliver on a promise like this once the purchase goes through. If the new owners tell them to make a game about how the people at EA like to sniff farts, the employees are just going to have to do it or lose their jobs. Chances are that a chunk of these people are going to be gone one way or another when this buyout happens anyhow. There will likely be some layoffs, as a big purchase like this is almost always accompanied by restructuring of the company. So it would not surprise me if some of the fat is trimmed at EA in order to cut costs, because you have to remember that a massive part of the buyout is leveraged. And what that means, if you aren't familiar with the term, is that the new owners had to borrow money in order to pay for the purchase. purchase. In fact, it is reportedly over $20 billion they are borrowing, which is freaking massive. So, they need to start making money immediately after the purchase happens in order to start paying down their debt, and if their analysts tell them that there are any sections of the company that aren't being particularly productive, then those people will get shown the door almost certainly. And to top it off, there's been a lot of speculation that BioWare or some other studios might actually get sold off in order to help pay for the acquisition. The problem with that, of course, is that BioWare has not made a successful game in over a decade. Dragon Age the Veilguard was one of the biggest flops of last year, as they shoved gender they-them crap into the game and rubbed everyone's faces in it constantly. Anthem flopped several years ago, and Mass Effect Andromeda was not very well thought of either. This once storied studio has been reduced to a husk of its former self. For cripe's sake, they have less than 100 employees working there now after EA laid most everyone off due to the Veilguard flopping. So yes, I have a hard time imagining that anyone who buys BioWare would be willing to pay the so-called top dollar, so I really don't think the new owners will end up selling them. A likelier strategy would be to push BioWare into making something that they believe will be successful and then sell them, when the value isn't so low, when you could trade for it with a glass half full of flat beer and still feel like you just got ripped off. But anyhow, let's read about what EA is saying to their employees. This article here comes to us from Polygon. They wrote down here, Electronic Arts says it will maintain creative control and its track record of creative freedom and player-first values under its planned new ownership. That's according to an updated employee-focused FAQ that addresses questions about culture change coming as part of a deal to take the game publisher private. EA's assertion that it will still call the shots creatively expands on a previously published version of that FAQ that was updated last week and spotted by GameFile. The language matches up with a pledge from EA CEO Andrew Wilson, who said in September when the $55 billion deal to take EA private was announced, "Our values and our commitment to players and fans around the world remain unchanged." Alright, there are two things that I want to say about that announcement. First of all, saying that their commitments are unchanged is meaningless, because the only people that the CEO, the current CEO of the company, can speak for are the current managers of the company. It might sound good to say that, but as soon as new ownership takes over, if they decide, for example, not to permit the celebration of Pride Month, well, that's all there is to it. The employees might grumble and complain and throw little tantrums, but they have no leverage while working under an organization that is concerned about profit. For every developer that just refuses to work there, then, there are 20 hungry developers looking to prove themselves at a big company like EA. And the second thing that I want to point out about this announcement is that it was bullshit anyhow. EA has not been committed to players and fans for decades. This is the company of microtransactions, live service, and just general slop. But anyhow, the article says next, also new in that FAQ is this language regarding the new owners of EA. The consortium believes in our vision, our leadership, and the strength of our teams. They are investing in EA because they believe we are uniquely positioned to lead the future of entertainment. And I speak a little corporate, so allow me to translate for anyone out there who doesn't. This is corporate speak for shut the hell up, stop your grumbling, and keep working, because if you don't, then we, the current managers, are definitely losing our jobs when this buyout happens. Anyhow, then the article goes on to say, that may do little to assuage the fears of employees and some fans of EA's games, particularly The Sims and BioWare's brand of RPGs, who have expressed concern about the conservative influence of EA's potential future owners. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, private equity fund Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, the investment firm founded by Jared Kushner. Some EA workers have reportedly expressed concerns over whether EA would lessen inclusivity and other so-called political elements in its games in the future. Similarly, some Sims content creators have worried about representation and inclusivity in The Sims 4, with some quitting the EA Creator Network in protest. Analysts have called BioWare's LGBT-friendly franchises potential liabilities for EA's new owners, calling the studio and its titles prime candidates to be sold off. Well, that's too bad for BioWare employees, because right now, that studio is at its lowest point in terms of value, and I just don't see it getting sold off, at least not for a while. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. Maybe if BioWare didn't want to have to work under these so-called evil people taking over the company, it might have been prudent to make video games and not to preach at us, as they did with the Veilguard. I've got to say, my schadenfreude is kicking in, and it's a lot of fun to watch these people suffer from their own poor choices. It's incredible how incompatible they feel now with an ownership group whose priority will be profit. But I'm going to leave it there. Which studio at EA, if any, do you think will get axed or sold off? Drop your thoughts on this, as well as your mockery of the activist EA employees, into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.